Good evening and welcome to tonight's broadcast of the Total Nonstop Racing League here at the virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway. My name is Bob Giaquinto, and joining me in the booth tonight is the commish, the man himself, Garrett Gleason. Garrett, this is going to be a fun race, but a big challenge for these drivers.
Bob, I appreciate you letting me join you here and the Tabletop Trio guys for having me. This is going to be an incredible race. This track is hot, this track is slick, and guys are out here talking like they're turning right at Watkins Glen with the amount of wheel they have to put into this thing. So I can't wait to see how our drivers adapt and learn this track as it starts off as hot as it is. Maybe there'll be some track temperature change throughout. But you know, when I set up a server, Bob, I never do it correctly, and it's always there for some surprises, so we'll see what they can do.
Hey, you know, variety is the spice of life, and this is going to be absolutely wild for these drivers. And even just, you know, a couple of things to look out for. The first thing, like you'd mentioned, save your tires. It's going to be hot. It's going to be slick. A lot of sliding around. That is going to cause a lot of tire wear. And, I mean, gee, you were out there practicing. It's pretty difficult.
It's very difficult, Bob, and that's why I'm in the booth with you. I couldn't stomach it for much longer. I'm getting old. I'm getting timid. And I just don't have the skill set like these guys have to be able to control these cars. And I didn't want to bring on a yellow and be highlighted and the sponsors get mad at me. So, yeah, it's safer up here, but I can't wait to see what these guys do. And, Bob, I told you the little bit of surprise we have coming up. We're going to have some open qualifying, too. So they're going to just be out there going for it, and I can't wait to see that to start us off.
Yeah, that is going to be absolutely wild to watch here. Open qualifying here at Atlanta, and especially with a track that is so hot and slick. These guys they're going to have their hands full when we get into qualifying for tonight. Taking a look here at our standings right now. This guy, the new old guy, still the new guy in the league. First race this season, 77 John Cannizzaro, fastest overall with a 31.94. The Wild Child living up to his reputation so far.
Yeah, this track temperature definitely suits his driving style. It suits Nick Cohan's driving style. It suits Philip Scott's driving style, and a couple of these other drivers that we don't know as well. But John picked a great race to come back. He's been sitting out on the sideline scheduling conflicts, but he comes to a track that I know he's had success at, and I know definitely will help with it, the way he likes to just sling it into the corner and be that wild child.
That is for sure. And like you'd mentioned, some other guys, Nick Cohan, having himself a pretty decent season so far here in this number 21 machine. Him and his Dizzy Motorsports teammates pretty much running the show this season so far. Taking a look at the point standings overall for this one, or this season so far, we see Tim Johnson, one of those Dizzy Motorsports guys, with the points lead, 476 points after 3 races. Anthony DeBarro, Chris Gabot, the top 3, all Dizzy guys. Brian Underwood did not race last week at Richmond, but after winning the second of the Daytona doubleheaders, still finds himself pretty high up there in P4.
Yeah, it's anyone's ball game. It's early on in the season, but you could definitely tell these Dizzy guys came back to TNR with a purpose, and they're here to win every race and dominate these point standings. So hopefully we could get somebody creeping up those point standings. I mean, there's guys that I race with every week towards the back of the standings here. Jamar, Schue, Mitchell Adams, they all have talent. They're all capable of putting together a good run tonight. And if Jamar has bad luck, but Jamar, I promise I'm not jinxing you, bud. You could do this.
No broadcaster's curse tonight, that is for sure. We're getting ourselves ready to go now for qualifying. Like Garrett had mentioned, open group qualifying. So we'll keep the ticker up here on the left-hand side of your screen. A couple of guys, well, pretty much the whole field out there right now jumping on. Here's the 39 of Jeff Price getting out to start his lap. Philip Scott just in front of him. Couple of guys there towards the back as well. Brendan Bookwald. Oh, looks like there's already a bit of a spin. I think that's the Mitchell Adams machine out there. He's reset his car to go back to the pits. There's Mitchell.
Bob, if it was up to me, I'd be trying to figure out a way to, not that I ever have any speed, but if I was a talented race car driver, I'd be trying to figure out a way to scheme this open qualifying, catch a good draft off of someone, and be able to hit that max speed, because with the amount of tire wear and slickness here. You probably only have one shot at it each time to get after you get the temperature in your tires. So I'm definitely gonna maybe take an initial run, get a feel for it, and then maybe piggyback off of somebody like the 32 there Shane Ewing's doing. But you gotta keep the car straight, which is hard enough at this place.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of that coming out of turn 4. And honestly, I was about to say that's exactly what Shane Ewing's going to do because he was right there, right on the back bumper of the 0-2. And unfortunate for him, just got a little squirrely coming out of the corner and had to go around.
Yeah, I think you just get with your teammates even if you can here and try to catch a draft. But you got somebody like Philip Scott here who's a lone wolf, but he always has enough speed in that number 99 to take advantage of this group qualifying and maybe get those 5 bonus points that are so helpful throughout the course of the season.
Absolutely. And taking a look at some more of these drivers there, Mitchell Adams on a pretty good lap as well. Tim Johnston there. You see a lot of these guys on the bottom of the screen trying to beat their lap time that they've put up already. So far, 16 drivers have put in times. Looks like 24 drivers in the field for tonight's contest.
Very curious, Bob, to see what the fast line here in qualifying is compared to what we're going to see in the race. I saw a couple drivers as I was out there getting, well, essentially lapped in practice, running a higher line in 1 and 2 and a lower line in 3 and 4. I'm just curious, maybe we could go on board with somebody or follow a lap here and see what they're doing with one of the faster cars.
Yeah, let's take a look here. We'll ride on the roof of this number 32 machine of Shane Ewing. He's running the top line here through 3 and 4. And getting real loose there. Same with the 8 of Luna Albright. Albright gets in the wall out of the corner. 32 of Shane Ewing also having a couple of issues.
I'm starting to feel guilty about this track temperature, Bob.
Well, let's see if anyone else is out there right now to try to get a ride along as we're on with the 49 of Mitchell Adams. He grabbed the wall a little bit there in coming out of 2. Look at that, just right up against the wall. Trying to keep that momentum going. Oh, little snap loose. Had to get out of the throttle a tiny bit. That was a good lap, 31.920, but still 0.4 of a second behind our current pole sitter, Tim Johnston.
Yeah, I'm not sure anybody has anything for that 82 of Tim Johnston at this point, Bob, but a couple, well, we got a minute left here. Now's your time, guys. Go give it one more run and see what you can do. Oh, and as I said that, Dizzy Motorsports, Nick Cohan taking the number 21 to the top of the chart.
Yeah, what a great lap, and essentially tied. Both of them did a 31.92 on the scoreboard there. So, man, those two guys incredibly fast. Our top 3 drivers, 31.92, 31.92, 31.99. So everyone right there on top of each other, and even more as these times go down. Tenths of seconds, 15 100ths of a second separate the top 8 drivers. So this is going to be a fun one tonight.
I would like to be on that front row. Not that I was ever there, but you want to be on that front row, maybe get away from the chaos, control this race, and not get caught up in anyone else's mistakes. There are some of the best drivers I've ever raced with in this field, and it's easy for everybody to make a mistake tonight, and all it takes is somebody up towards the front to get sideways, either in the tri-oval or on exit or something, and wipe out a bunch of good cars. So either in the very front or in the very back might be the safest places to be, but that's not really racing. So we'll see what these guys do.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what some of these other drivers decide to do strategy-wise. And, like you said, up front, in the back, there's really not a big safe spot. And one of the other keys for this race is watch out for the initial start and any restarts where you'll either have cold tires or, super worn tires if you stay out. It is so easy to just spin the tires and cause a massive wreck. We've seen that countless times here at Atlanta. So this could get pretty wild as this race goes on.
Sorry, Bob. I was just gonna chime in. I'm hoping it keeps the wild child. Maybe he could be the one to take this home.
That is for sure. Let's take a look at the starting lineup for tonight's race. And as of right now, here is the drivers out there on track. On pole is the number 21 machine of Nick Cohan at a 31.919. Tim Johnson on the outside in row number 1. Row number 2 is Philip Scott and John Canizaro Jr. Row 3, Jamar Dumas. Good starting spot for Jamar and Tom Bourne in P6. Chris Cabot and Jonathan Gaston round up row 4. And in row 5, John Daniels in the O2 and Mitchell Adams in 10th.
We got our boy Floppy, Mike Tellier, rolling off in 11th. Danny White rolling off in 12th. Brandon Bookwald in the 96 rolling off 13th. Jeff Price in 14th. What's that say? Shane, am I getting old, Bob? This font's got to get bigger. Shane Ewing in the 32 will start 15th. That's a little bit shocking. I expect Shane to make his way towards the front fairly easily here. Luna Albright will start 16th. Our good friend Jason Schue rolls off in 17th with Robert Tripp 18th. I think that says Jacob Bettis in 19th, William Ratcliffe in 20th, Lupe Gonzalez, welcome back Lupe, we've missed you, in 21st, Jason Gracias 22nd, Adam Stewart 23rd, and Garrett Gleason is safe in the booth.
And that is going to roll out our final rows here for tonight's race. Everyone getting ready to get started here. This is going to be a ton of fun, Garrett. You know, like we had mentioned, it's going to be slick. It's going to be hot. Who do you think is going to be one of your drivers to keep an eye out for tonight?
I want to watch the old school versus the new school. Tim Johnston, Shane Ewing, they've been doing this a long time. They're guys that just know how to get around every single track. But you have to think that, like, the wild child, John Canizaro, he's here for a reason to win this race. Nick Cohan put that thing on the pole. We'll see if the experience and maybe Shane starting back in the pack might have a little bit of an issue, but I'm watching the youth versus the experience. And if I had to pick right now, I would say that these veterans are going to end up on top when this thing's said and done.
Yeah, I could definitely see that as well. And you know, guys like Shane Ewing, we've seen him in previous seasons where, you know, Shane will start out, maybe not qualify the best, but you know, slowly but surely he's going to make his way up through the front. He's going to be really methodical in his process of getting up to the front, making smart moves, not, you know, doing anything too crazy, too dangerous, anything along those lines. So I think that is going to be really interesting just to see how he can handle the traffic as well as the track, because this track temp, quite warm, 131 degree track temperature. So it's going to be hot. It's going to be slick. But it's also going to be a ton of fun.
Absolutely, Bob. I appreciate you having me with you, and let's get it started.
Pace truck is off. Green flag in the air. A little bit of wiggle there coming from the 21 and Nick Cohan, but he's on the loud pedal. Green flag is rolling, and we're side by side heading off into turn number 1. Good look at these drivers right now, all kind of minding their own business as everyone seems to be doing all right. Tim Johnston there jumps out to the lead. Here's John Canizaro to the inside of Cohan. This is for P2. Little surprising to see Cohan fall back this much early on in the race. But still 100 laps left. Plenty of time, and anything else is possible.
Yeah, at this point, though, Bob, why rush it? If you want to get some temperature in your tires, you just want to get out there and find your place in line and feel everyone out and not get caught up in someone else's mess. That could be what Nick Cohan is doing right now, knowing that he has the speed in that number 21. But a lot of these guys are not taking it easy, Bob. We are side by side within the first couple rows here, so I guess these guys have figured it out between practice and qualifying.
Yeah, I think so too. A lot of guys just kind of being easy on the throttle, taking it, you know, nice and slow. Here is a little bit further back. The 8 of Luna Albright fell a little bit sideways, but they're able to get it rolling again. Mike Floppy Tellier here as well. Did not have the best of races last week at Richmond. Got a little loose coming out of turn 4. Wound up collecting another driver and, you know, just kind of ended the race for him. He had a great start to the run, but unfortunate circumstances there left Floppy to fall back just a little bit. But Garrett, look at this big gaggle of cars just in front.
Bob, I am nervous watching this, but man, what a view of this place from up top here, watching these guys battle side by side at the right at the edge of control. And I just want to touch quickly, Luna. I've been so impressed with the talent that's one of those drivers that we're going to keep an eye on throughout the season, because the speed is definitely there. And just because you're new doesn't mean that these other drivers aren't taking notice of how good you are and going to keep you in their sights, because it's a long season and everybody wants that championship.
Absolutely. And Jonathan Gaston there in the 72 machine, he was saying that in another league that he raced on, he just said, hey, come on over, race with us. This is going to be a ton of fun. And a lot of those drivers did wind up showing up and racing with us. And, you know, it's been awesome to see, you know, a new injection of talent here into the league, just to get, you know, a nice little change of pace, new drivers showing up, and it's been a ton of fun so far.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. We've always had the consistent TNR members that we've had our whole lives almost at this point, and now some new faces coming in to replace the people who can't make it every week. But just because you're not racing with us right now doesn't mean we've forgotten about you. Peter Short, Vinny Valvano, all you guys that are, Tristan, Bill, like, there's so many great racers that I miss racing with, and I hope we see you back by the end of the year. But for now, I'm really enjoying this new group of talent we have, because everybody's clean, everybody's respectful, and they're fast too, Bob.
Yeah, they're incredibly fast. What a great pace so far. Looks like best lap of the race has been ran, I believe, by the 16 of Tom Bourne with a 32.15. So they're getting very close to qualifying pace 7 laps into this race.
I'm a little bit in shock because during our practice runs, I think it was Jamar was on 3-lap tires and he was passing somebody on 8-lap tires like they were standing still, but now we're all on 7-lap tires and these guys are running qualifying laps. So like you said, it's the experience, it's getting to know the track and just figuring this place out, and then they're going to keep getting faster and faster as they get more familiar with this place.
Yeah, we got a good battle brewing here for the lead. John Cannizzaro in the 77 has it. Philip Scott and Tom Bourne won it. There's Bourne right down on the bottom, just painting the inside white line. Not quite able to get it hooked up just yet, but he is on a mission, tailing right behind the 77 of John Cannizzaro.
Shame on me, Bob, for not even mentioning Tom Bourne when I was going through my favorites in this race. Tom Bourne is probably screaming, what more do I have to prove? I win every other week in this series, or at least I did last season, so no surprise to see Tom running up near the front, but he's got 2 very aggressive drivers at his front and rear, so don't make one slip up or you're going to pay for it.
That is for sure. As we ride on board now with the 77 to John Cannizzaro, looking back at the rest of the field right there on the bumper, that's the gap between 1 and 2. That's a quarter of a second. Here comes Bourne to the inside, drives it in deep, not really able to do all that much, but he was able to get it to stick. Picked up maybe a couple of hundredths of a second, but a good battle brewing here for the lead. Meanwhile, a nice little battle a little bit further back there for P5. That involves the Ada Luna Albright. Chris Gabot in 3rd. Philip Scott there has fallen back to 5th.
Oh, I was just talking about Philip getting up there ready to battle for the lead, and he dropped right back. I don't know if he's running out of tire a little bit, or if he ended up hitting the wall, or just said, hey, I'm going to back it off here and try to find my place in line and not risk it this early on in the race. But, Bob, they've been pretty much foot down on the pedal since we started to drop this green flag, and it's actually incredible. And I'm so impressed, because when I was watching practice, I never thought we'd get a green flag run.
Yeah, you know, watching practice and seeing how many guys have slid up. And as we say that, there's the 28 of Jamar Dumas. Might have slipped up a little bit, snagged the wall. That slowed him down. He's going to lose a couple of spots back down to P9 at the moment. But yeah, I mean, these guys have been able to keep it together. A couple of guys maybe getting the wall. There's the 72 of Jonathan Gaston got a little squirrely there as well. But, you know, this is a pretty good run that these guys have been having. 12 straight green flag laps on such a slick track. And as I say it, there's the 49 Mitchell Adams and Jamar Dumas come together. Oh, more trouble, as looks like a couple other guys come together. Still no yellow. Very surprising as Dumas tries to gas it back up, not able to get it going, but we're going to stay green. We'll take a look here at the Tabletop Trio replay just to see what happened out there for Dumas. Still trying to see. It looked like Lupe Gonzalez was involved as well. As we'll bring this one back over here. So keep an eye on that 28 machine of Jamar Dumas. 49 Mitchell Adams got sideways. They're both stuck in the wall. He gets off the wall. Oh, he collects Lupe. And both Jamar and Lupe, unfortunately, having an issue that very well could end the day for both drivers.
Yeah, it's a tough break. Jamar definitely showed some speed in that number 28, and that's just a really tough break for Jamar. And then Lupe and Mitchell and everybody, Mitchell ended up having to check off. That cost Jamar, put him back in the situation where he got stuck in the wall, and then ended up bumping into Lupe. It looks like Mitchell Adams having even more problems than that number 49.
Yeah, let's take a look here to see what happened to Mitchell. Because as they're going around, he's kind of parked on the inside. Didn't exactly see what had happened here, so we'll get this rewound and get you back out there. And yeah, it looked like Adams just kind of caught the wall on the outside, overcorrected, slid back down through the grass. Shockingly, though, still no yellow. As here's Mitchell Adams still mowing the lawn. Is he auditioning for Schue's lawn care there?
Yeah, Schue's lawn care or pretending he's Johnny Williams. I'm not sure which, but Bob, I'll be right back.
Of course. So a tough break there for the 49 and Mitchell Adams. A couple other drivers having some issues. Jamar Dumas still around getting lapped, but we're still early. Still plenty of time. Looks like William Ratliff also having issues. Take another look at the replay for Ratliff. I don't know if he got sideways or stuck in the wall. So let's see. Oh, there's Ratliff getting sideways, heading onto pit road. Such a slick track. And he's coming down onto pit road, turns in, locked it up, slid through his box, stuck on the wall. Night going from bad to worse for Ratliff. He's still in his box at the moment. Meanwhile, out front, we've got a battle for the lead. There's Canizaro on the outside in the black and white Dodge. Tom Bourne trying to take a peek. Can't quite do it. He's going to get his nose in here as they head off into turn number 1. Side by side for the lead. Here comes Tom Bourne to the inside. Bourne right along the bottom. Able to slide back up. Oh, he gets loose. Into the wall goes Tom Bourne. Bourne's going to start falling back quite a bit. Not a whole lot of damage, but they got sideways in a hurry. And Bourne had to save it. But he's going to fall all the way back to P8. Possibly more as Jason Gracias and the 44 Danny White right on his tail. Battle for second starting to brew. Tim Johnston there to the inside. Nick Cohan gets loose. He's able to keep that one straight. But here comes Johnson. Johnston to the inside. Philip Scott able to hold the high line. He's going to have more momentum heading down the front straightaway, but at the line, that one's going to go to Tim Johnston. Big slide there. A little bit of a tap of the wall from the Adalune Albright. All ready to get going. Ace High Racing rather in the chat. This is Let's Go Racing. Thanks for joining. By the way, if you like what you see, feel free to follow, subscribe, like the video. Much appreciated. Both on Twitch and YouTube. Some great flyby action as we see the 4 of Adam Stewart heading down pit road. Stewart looking to pull into his box. Mitchell Adams down there as well. Tough break for both of those drivers. There's Jamar Dumas back in P19. Dumas only a lap down, so if a yellow should come out, Dumas is going to be the recipient of the lucky dog. And as we say that, we've got a battle for the lead. Johnston to the inside, Canizaro on the outside, Philip Scott trailing, says, hey, keep fighting, I'll be right there. Great side-by-side action, 23 laps into this one, almost at the quarter mark. Here on the Tabletop Trio Racing Network.
I'm back, Bob.
Welcome
What'd I
back,
miss?
G. Well, you missed a lot. Phil, looked like the 49 Mitchell Adams still down on pit road. We've got a 4-car fight for the lead right now between Johnston, Canizaro, Scott, and Cohan. And Jamar Dumas only 1 lap down, so should a yellow come out, he will be the lucky dog recipient.
Boy, do I love that lucky dog. That gives you so many mulligans when you just have a bad first section of the race, or you just get yourself caught a lap down from pit strategy or whatever. And it's a game changer, Bob. And I know some of us are old enough to remember when NASCAR didn't have that, and you had to race your way back from the inside line against all the cars on the outside line. And boy, is it a blessing to just be able to say, hey, all right, go around the pace car. You're back.
Yep, it is, and it's such a great feeling as well to be able to do that. Just to say, all right, I'm going to go get my lap back. You guys hang out. I'll meet you at the back end of the field. Great fight here at the front of the field. Go ahead, Garrett.
No, I'm looking at some names here in the top 10, some comers and goers. I think we got our friend Jason Gracias up to 8th. I see the 02 and the 44 haven't run, so that's some names that maybe aren't as familiar to TNR fans, but just want to give a little shout out. And Mr. Gaston there, and I'm sure his class is cheering him on, made his way into the top 10. But there's our boy Shane Ewing, 11th place. I keep my eye on that 32. I got faith he's going to be there at the end.
Yeah, Shane Ewing started back in P15. He's already up to 11th, putting on some great pressure. Now just trying to catch up with the number 72 of Jonathan Gaston. Gaston in the Scott Bloomquist tribute paint scheme. Great looking machine. Definitely a tragedy in the racing world, losing Scott Bloomquist the way we did.
Very, very sad. You don't expect to see some. I know for a lot of people, Scott Bloomquist was a hero to them. I'm sure somebody they idolized, and certainly took me by surprise. And they never get easier. You know, people. It seems like a different celebrity or whoever dies every day, but when it's part of your life, your childhood, it always hits people different ways. So certainly looking out for anybody that feels that way and lost somebody that was a big part of their life.
Absolutely. Taking a look here towards the front of the field. Nick Cohan there in P3 currently. Trailing just behind John Canizaro. And Tim Johnson says, all right, you guys can fight. I'm going to drive ahead. He's got about half a second lead, almost half a second lead over this battle right here.
I'd like to go find Chuck Sweeting wherever he is and bring him here for this race. I think he'd fit right in with these guys and be able to put on a good show. But the experience of Tim Johnston so far so good, and we're about halfway through a fuel run, if I'm not mistaken, Bob. I think some drivers are saying somewhere close to 50 laps on fuel, so we will see when strategy comes into play. I think there's 3 sets of tires in the pits, so we'll see how they distribute those, if they're going to save a set for later or 2 sets, and go from there.
Yeah, I'm interested to see because, you know, if it's, you know, even if they have to pit before lap 50, that means, oh, look at that big slide coming out of Nick Cohan. He's somehow able to save it. He's going to lose 1 spot to Philip Scott. Still not looking super set yet, but now he's able to keep it underneath him. That was real sketchy.
Yeah, you're not kidding, Bob. There's some saves that I see throughout this field, and I know there is 0% chance that I would have saved it. And these guys just keep on going and running in the top 5, and probably didn't even phase them driving in the number 21 there.
Yeah, big moment there for the driver of the number 21 machine. And You know, Garrett, we were mentioning about fuel strategy. I mean, even if you go 50 laps, that's still, you know, you're going to run out coming to the white flag, and that's obviously not a good thing. But I wonder if these guys are going to try to save here in this one, maybe try to get it to lap 52, 53, something like that. And then if this race somehow goes caution-free, with the way these tires are degrading, I don't know if we're going to have a caution-free race. But, you know, then maybe you might be able to make it the rest of the way. But maybe they run the full 50 here and then split it and come in around lap 75, lap 80, maybe even 85, just to get some fresh tires back out there and know for a fact you're good to go.
I think someone has to try a different strategy here, Bob, whether or not it's stopping twice instead of once or doing something a little crazy. I mean, if you're running 15th to 20th at this point, what do you have to lose? You can't really run it long if you're expecting everyone to go to lap 50. You can only have 51 laps or whatever on fuel, unless you're a master at saving fuel. So this is becoming interesting here, about 17 laps to lap 50, and we're having guys probably coming up with their strategies now if they don't know already. So, but they're not stopping racing. I mean, we got John Daniels here in the 0-2 racing to the outside trying to make a pass, and nobody's lifting, giving space, or worried about anybody sliding into them. So they really, I've said it before, and I'll keep saying it all night because I'm shocked they figured this place out.
Yeah, they have absolutely figured it out. And I think they've figured out each other as well. We've had the 2 super speedway races. We had the short track race last week at Richmond. Now, you know, our first mile-and-a-half kind of cookie-cutter intermediate track. And I think a lot of these guys kind of understand, all right, I know what's going to happen here. I know this person may be more aggressive. This person may do something a little crazy. And, you know, they're kind of leaning on each other like they've been racing for an entire season, even though we're on race 4 of the year.
It's very impressive, and if your league's going to be known for anything, it's going to be, you want it to be sportsmanship, and you want it to be the league that has good green flag racing, and that's what we're showing here so far. As the number 25 of Chris Cabot comes down pit road, and looks like he's bringing some takers with him, so maybe a 2-stop strategy here, Bob.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking as well. 35 laps in, we see the 82 of Tim Johnston hitting pit road right here. 32 of, or pardon me, the 25 rather of Chris Cabot. Danny White on pit road too. Jacob Bettis there as well coming down. So a lot of drivers saying, all right, 35 laps, that's good enough for me. We're going to get ourselves rolling and, you know, make this a 2-stop race.
I don't think you can really expect much more on the tires, Bob. I don't know how many drivers were out there making 30-plus lap runs in practice the way it was looking. So the fact that they got this far and can come in, get some fresh tires, and you're knowing that everyone has the same amount of tires and will have that option, and you might start forcing their hands, because you're going to have, if somebody stays up to lap 50, you're going to have 16 laps where you're absolutely blistering them pace-wise, and you're going to make up that distance. So I think it's a good move. These Dizzy Motorsports guys know what they're doing. They know how to win races, and they know what the winning strategy is.
Yeah, and speaking of getting into the pit box there, 21 Nick Cohan, extended stop there, getting some damage fixed possibly, but he's still on pit road. Definitely intrigued to see what exactly is going on, but a very long stop here for the 21 and Nick Cohan. Meanwhile, out front, here's another battle for the lead. 77.99 going at it with a lap car, the 24, right in front of him.
I always harass John Cannizzaro, rightfully so, but he and Phillip, if there was a cliff at the end of the straightaway they're coming on, neither one of them would lift. That's just how they both race. They go for it every lap, and it's awesome to be able to watch them battle. But it's a lap car sneaking up on them. We'll see the difference here in fresh tires compared to these two guys racing side by side in old tires. We'll see if is that Tim Johnson is able to go where they're not here and make the pass. Wow.
Jeez, oh man. 3 wide through the middle, passing the leaders. He just says, yep, nope, I'll take it. Thanks.
That's the difference. Those fresh tires make you feel like a superhero out there. And he just parted the sea, and we'll see now what kind of gap he puts on him in one lap. And you could picture that for the next 12 or so laps if these guys stay out in the old tires. But stopping one less time compared to stopping that extra time, is he going to be able to make that gap up? But this is why I always liked working with Peter, Bob, because he'd have the answers. He'd be doing the math in his head, be able to tell you exactly to the tenth of a centimeter who was going to come up the winner. So I guess you and I will just have to watch the race like everybody else.
Yeah, you know, I'm the one who went to school for radio, so I can talk barely, but there's no math going on in my head. And I mean, look, let's take a look real quick at the lap times. Philip Scott last time by did a 34.72. Tom Bourne, or pardon me, Luna Albright, on the other hand, last pitted just a couple of laps ago and ran a 32.25.
Wow.
So almost more than 2.5 seconds faster on fresh tires. Huge amounts of fall off as there's some more drivers heading down pit road. There's Jeff Price and this man, John Cannizzaro, heading down pit road.
Now that's curious to me, Bob. They're stopping here 10 laps or what, less than 10 laps after the Dizzy Motorsports guys stopped. And you gave up all that time, and you're still not going to be able to make it a one-stop race. So I don't know what pitting here really gives you the benefit of.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure either at this point. Maybe they're just kind of pitting out, maybe waiting a little longer, saying, all right, someone's going to spin out coming on to or getting off a pit road. As Philip Scott moving up to let all the other drivers go. Might be taking a look at the pits. Oh, trouble! That's the 28 of Jamar Dumas. He gets loose, catches the wall. And Jamar's night goes from bad to worse to just flat awful.
Bob, which one of us was giving him the broadcaster's jinx before the race? It was you, right?
I am going to plead the fifth on this one.
Poor Jamar. The bad luck that I don't know if I've ever seen anyone that unlucky. It's just amazing. No matter what league I've raced with him in, year after year, he will have the speed, and just very rarely does he get the finish that he deserves in the race. And I think that's about the end of his chances at the lucky dog, barring some sort of catastrophe.
Yeah, and I feel like, too, it's always, especially more so at Atlanta. I remember doing a TNR race with him a couple of years ago, or a couple of seasons ago, I believe in the Xfinity car. Qualified on pole here at Atlanta as the super speedway version. Wound up leading a whole bunch of laps. Got wrecked out towards the end, leading the field. Doubleheader race, the second one at this version of Atlanta. Again, qualified on pole, got wrecked out. He just absolutely snake bitten here at Atlanta, and it's such a tough break. So right now, Jason Gracias is the leader, still has yet to pit. The first car who has fresh tires is the 8 of Luna Albright. Luna is in P6 at the moment.
So we have Jason.
Oh, Mitchell Adams getting sideways.
Look out there, Mitchell. But we have Jason Gracias, who those of us who have raced TNR a long time and have raced in other leagues as Team TNR know that Jason Gracias was always the guy that we put in charge of our strategy. So Jason's definitely thinking this is going to be a one-stop race for him and the number one machine. So, and it looks like he maybe has another taker or two with him on that strategy. It's really going to be fascinating, Bob, to see the gap of where those first cars that pit. And I believe, who would that be? Is it Tim Johnston is the leader of that group of cars? No, it might be Luna.
So yeah, right now it's Luna is the first car who pit back on lap 29. Tim Johnston pitted last on lap 34. Same with his teammate there, Chris Gabot. Danny White also pitted down on lap 34. Cannizzaro back in P12, pitted on lap 40. So right now, the driver's probably easier to say who hasn't pit. That would be this guy, Jason Gracias, who may be slowing down. Oh, trouble. The 49, Mitchell Adams, stuck up against the wall. Unfortunate day for him, and this has been a terrible race for Mitchell Adams. Caught the wall a couple of times, slid through the front, the grass as well. 11 laps down as well, so just not a great run for Adams.
the same two guys are just having the worst luck out there. It just seemed like all the bad luck and all the handling issues found Jamar Dumas and Mitchell Adams. I think maybe Mitchell has had enough now. He's going to pull that thing up here. Wow, he's struggling to even get into his pits there, Bob.
Wow, what a tough break there for Adams. He's going to reverse it. He might have some tire damage as well as he loops it again. Finally able to get going, and there's Jason Gracias heading down pit road too.
So yeah, I'm wondering if Jason had this fuel mileage calculated perfectly, Bob. I mean, at this point, right, he's coming to lap 50. He didn't make lap 50 yet, so he's got to be really, really close.
Yeah, that has to be a very close call for the #1 machine, and there are still a couple of drivers who have yet to pit. Shane Ewing, that is one of them, as that is not Shane. There's Shane coming down pit road, same as the O2 of Daniels. Jonathan Gaston has yet to pit as well. Gaston is going to stay out another lap, so Gaston, he's going to get those 5 bonus points for leading a lap. And now the only drivers who have yet to pit: Jonathan Gaston, Mike Floppy Tellier, Robert Tripp, and Jason Schue. So those 4 guys have not pit yet. And finally cycling around is this driver. The 8, Luna Albright, is going to be our leader for now.
No, absolutely.
In the mirror is the 82 of Tim Johnston.
There's your couple laps different on tires between when Luna stopped and when Tim stopped, so we will see. I don't expect Tim to fight too long here, be able to make the pass, but those drivers that have stayed out this far and have passed the halfway point, we know for sure if they do the same strategy, they are going to be able to make it on fuel. So tremendous job by those drivers of saving fuel, and I guess they're going to have to do it all over again because it must have been really, really close, because we saw the likes of Gracias and Ewing come to pit road maybe a little bit short of halfway.
Yeah, and, you know, we had mentioned lap times. Look at that. The difference in 5 laps. Tim Johnson pitted on lap 34. Albright pitted on lap 29. And already a half-second difference on tires between those two. Absolutely wild.
I guess that's why they repaved this place and made it into a super speedway, Bob. They didn't like the way these tires got chopped up and made the racing really, really good.
Right? I mean, it's such a shame. I always kind of call this track good Atlanta versus Atlanta super speedway. But, you know, I mean, look at how great this driving is. Look at where everyone's running. They're not all stuck down on the bottom. They're all stuck up at top. All kind of making their own way around the racetrack. And, you know, it's definitely a shame. Definitely miss old Atlanta.
Maybe it's just that we're getting to the point where, like, the nostalgia kicks in. But a lot of these tracks that we loved growing up, Atlanta, California, Chicagoland, they're no more. And it's sad. It takes away a lot of good racing. And I'm just glad iRacing keeps these tracks available for us to be able to race and kind of live back that raceability that these tracks had back in the day.
Yeah, and I mean, even looking in real life NASCAR, Michigan, technically today, was a fun race to watch. A lot of comers and goers, and hopefully that's what the track like Atlanta is going to turn into. But for now, they're just a little too much super speedway-esque for me.
I agree.
So here's our leader, Tim Johnson. He's opened up a 3.7-second gap over the 8 of Luna Albright. Here's Albright with Cannizzaro. Side by side, Cannizzaro says, all right, cool. I'll take this, and I'll see you guys later.
So just to refresh my memory, what lap Luna was about, like 29, and Cannizzaro and them, they're in the 30s as far as pit, so it's only like, what, less than 5 lap difference on tires?
Yeah, 5 lap difference on tires between Johnston and Albright. Cannizzaro pitted back on lap 40. So Cannizzaro's got the freshest of the tires of the top 3 by 6 laps. Wow,
so we'll keep an eye on that interval between the 77 and the 82, see how much John's able to cut off that lead of the 82 of Tim Johnston.
Yeah, let's take a look here to see what the lap time history is between Cannizzaro and the 82 here of Tim Johnston. Cannizzaro closing quick. Look at that. Lap 52, a 5/10 of a second. Lap 53, another 5/10. Almost another 5/10 for lap 54. Almost even on 55, but that's because Cannizzaro was catching the 8 of Albright. And then just this lap ago, picked up another 3/10 of a second. So he's going to be closing, albeit not as fast as we'd kind of expect. But still closing pretty strong.
It's so interesting, Bob, because you have, like in my head, maybe in your head too, I'm thinking about the speed. Okay, Cannizzaro has the speed to potentially catch the 82. But in the back of my mind, it's like, is that the winning strategy? Does it really matter? Like, should we be looking deeper in the field to Jason Gracia's group of cars to its potential winners?
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see someone from that late group of guys of pitting, but even then, Gracias came in on lap 48. He's going to have to run 53 laps, essentially, on this tank of fuel, plus tires. And with saving and all that sort of thing, I don't know if the one-stop strategy is going to be the go-to. I really think someone who pitted in the 30s, maybe around lap 40, might actually have the winning strategy, just because they know they're going to have to pit, they're going to have the fresher tires, and on a full run, you're looking at almost 2.5 seconds of fall off between fresh tires and old tires. So maybe you are going to catch that guy in a lap or two, as opposed to, you know, oh, maybe I could hold off as much as I can.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there, Bob. I think the two-stop strategy is going to be the one that wins this race. But we've certainly been proven wrong before, and if that's the case, if they're going to keep this gap by somewhere around lap 66, we expect to see our first takers on pit road for their final stop, barring a caution. So something to keep an eye on, see who hits that final stop, hits their marks, and you and I have been doing this long enough that we know that last money stop, the smallest mistake could cost you a race, and we see it time and time again. And it's a horrible feeling in the broadcast booth to see somebody give their race away.
Yeah,
here we go.
Speaking of takers, here we are, the number 8 Aluna Albright. Albright coming down on pit road. Albright was in about 3rd, 4th place by the time they came down. Looks like Albright the only taker on pit road at the moment, as Johnson goes and puts Albright a lap down. 2.5 seconds now is the gap between drivers at the front.
Seems like it's stabilizing a little bit, Bob, the newness in those tires at Cannizzaro. I mean, still gaining a little bit, but it's not those big 0.5 of a second chunks that he was getting early on in the run. So, hey, get your notebook out. Start writing this stuff down, because we got the money stops coming up. We can see how close maybe, or that gap that Cannizzaro has to make up potentially on pit road, or potentially with strategy here, 2.5 seconds. He definitely can do it, somebody as skilled as John Cannizzaro, but I don't expect Tim Johnston to make a mistake either.
Yeah, look at that. I mean, even with the 6-lap difference in tires, the last time by, Johnston was just slightly faster than Cannizzaro, with a .036 faster than Cannizzaro. So, I mean, maybe tires are going to start evening out, but even then, they're 30 laps into the run, maybe another 4 laps if, you know, we're going to split this one again, but I don't know really what the call is going to be. This is going to be interesting.
Yeah, if you're watching at home and you're like, I could figure out the strategy, but why can't these guys do it? Please, shout it out in the comments. Let us know who you're keeping your eye on that we should be looking at here as far as the strategies go, because I haven't been in the booth in a long time. Bob's supposed to be leading me here to making me look good, saying, okay, hey, Garrett, wink, wink, you know, the 82 is going to win. Just, you know, jump on that bandwagon. He's letting me drown, I guess, in a way here in the booth. But this has been, Bob, an incredible race to watch. These drivers, and it might look maybe a little boring, but it's anything but boring as far as these guys working these wheels in the car, keeping these things mostly straight, and making the best laps possible.
Yeah, and this has been just so much fun to watch these guys go. I mean, here's the 44 Danny White, pitted back on lap 34, still running P5. Oh, by the way, +7 positions on the day. The biggest mover so far in this race. Who else? The number one of Jason Gracias. Always seems to find his way up towards the front. Super speedway, short track, intermediate, whatever you want to call it. The one of Jason Gracias always finds his way up towards the front of the field. He's currently sitting at +15 on the day so far.
I don't know if Jason gets the seat time that he used to, but he's just a veteran. I don't know what else to say. He's fast, he's consistent, he's just everything you want in a race car driver, and it's never a surprise to see him running well. It's usually like 7th. I'm sure he wouldn't be happy with a 7th place finish, but I don't expect him to be 7th at the end of this thing. But that strategy, he certainly feels it's a winning one, to make the one stop and just wait everybody out. And I guess we'll be as surprised as he is if he ends up pulling this thing off.
That is for sure. But right now, I mean, he's running some pretty good laps. He just did a 32.24 34.24 last time by. One of the faster drivers out there on the track. So, I mean, he's making up time. He's on the one lap strategy. Caught the wall just a little bit there, but he's still got it pointed in the right direction. As also heading down pit road is the number 19 of William Ratliff. Pardon me, Ratcliffe. He's actually leaving pit road.
Bob, I remember where I was when I made my first mistake, so I'm not going to fault you for pronouncing Will's last name wrong. It actually just happened last week, believe it or not. I've been perfect for up until then, but hey, it's all right, Bob.
Hey, it's sometimes it just happens. Yeah, between here and the Speed Xfinity series, I have been tripping all over my words and my name, so a little bit of practice never hurt anyone.
Yeah, I'm not sure you need practice, Bob. You're absolutely blast to work with, and one of my favorite partners. I won't say if maybe I like you a little bit better than Peter Short because all the mean things he said about me over the years, but we always have fun. Hopefully, we can do a couple more of these things.
Absolutely, I've been having a blast so far doing this one with you, just like old times, like the old TNR Stay Tuned Sports Truck series that we did back in the day.
If I was a little more prepared, I'd have some insults for all these people. I just have to work my way down the list next week and write something mean about everyone. And just I don't find it in me today to make fun of Cannizzaro, and I don't know why. I should maybe go see a doctor or something, because that's very unlike me.
Right? You know, I was surprised you didn't have more insults ready to hurl, especially with John currently running P2, still tracking down leader Johnston ever so slightly. This time, 2.8 seconds back of the leader.
Yeah, he might have lost a little bit within the last couple laps, but I don't know, Bob. This is gonna sound really stupid, but I think most of these drivers are right where they want to be strategy-wise. Obviously, you'd like to be leading and control the thing, but some people are saving gas. Others are just trying to get to that pit window. It's just such a balance that I don't think anyone's really pushing max speed at this point. I know it's a lot to say, and I really didn't say anything, but I think you know what I mean.
No, I know exactly what you mean. Now they're just kind of in the groove. They're just riding, not really pushing too hard, still just kind of hitting their place. Here's the 21 Nick Cohan heading down pit road. Jeff Price doing the same. Likely going to be the last stop of the race for these drivers, barring any cautions. And G, next week, looking ahead, Bristol. That's going to be a lot of fun, and I think it's also going to be a little bit hectic out there for some of these guys.
Yeah, I mean, Richmond was a little bit of a short track, but there's not many tracks in the world like Bristol, and it's my absolute favorite place to race, and I hope I get the opportunity to race. But if not, I love Colin races at Bristol because they're exciting, and you never know what you're going to get. And we just talked about being old school. The Bristol that we used to have where everybody ran around the bottom, that's no longer the case. You got to deal with this progressive banking and be able to run up next to the wall. So I enjoy Bristol, and the way these guys have handled this track tonight just makes me look forward to that one next week as well.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how Bristol is. It's going to be my my co-host and color commentator's first race to broadcast at Bristol as well, should he be back from vacation, which I believe he will be. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And you know, this season we're kind of using as a bit of almost as a learning moment for both myself and Joe. Joe, very new to racing, sim racing in general, and kind of bringing in the new viewer of being okay, well, what does that mean? Why did he do this? Why do you think this is going to happen? And I think that's going to bring a very unique perspective for these broadcasts this season.
Hey, you think about some place like Bristol for somebody that's just a casual fan and just thinking about a NASCAR schedule. Somebody goes to Darlington for the first time. You're like, why did they even design this place like this? And there's so many different tracks that like someone like you who has the experience and knowledge could say, hey, you know, there's this seam up here, and you got to keep your left tires to the right of that, and blah blah blah. Like so many things that you could tell to your partner, who could also give it to the viewer in the most simplest of terms. Here's what you got to do to be faster on this place, and here comes our pit stops here for Jason Gracias as well.
Yeah, very interesting. Gracias only about 25 laps on this run, so he said, all right, I know for a fact I'm not doing it. We're in the middle of green flag pit stops now. Might as well come back down and, you know, let's try straight up. Let's race head to head, and fresh tires will get it going here. What a great stop there for Gracias. 15.2 seconds, 4 tires, fuel, and he's rolling. Same with Philip Scott. He's going to make his way into the box.
I guess the strategy here, Bob, is get your last stop done like get the freshest tires last is what these drivers are going for. So they're not just going for the one-stop race. Now it's the shortest distance on fuel and tire here towards the end. So you're going to have a bit of a gap to make up, and I'm sure we'll be tracking it. And it all depends. I mean, is somebody going to try to stretch it? The 97's still out there on that same strategy, I believe, from earlier, but showing a lap down at this point, so I'm not sure if there's enough of a gap. Potentially a good finish in store if you stay on the strategy.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure now. With Mike being a lap down, he last pitted on lap 50. So I think, you know, if he's able to save it and he's able to get going, that's going to be awesome. But I don't know if that's going to be the winning strategy, especially now that he's a lap down just from being on pace, even though he's up in P8 at the moment.
Yeah, maybe Mike set himself into this race just looking for a good finish, and he thought that was his best strategy to get there. And I don't fault people for trying different strategies. I am the biggest cheerleader for guys just trying different things, doing what the leader doesn't, trying 2 tires, whatever, short pit. Just do it. There are people in this field that knew when this race started that they did not have much of a chance to win. But you show up anyway, and you hope for the best finish possible. So why not roll the dice and just do something contrarian? And you never know. People have won their first races in the most crazy ways. Why not you? Why not catch a yellow at the right time and just shock everybody?
Completely agree. I somehow was able to steal a top 5 at Watkins Glen a couple of seasons ago just by trying to reverse pit and almost running out of fuel twice. So, you know, there's always that opportunity of maybe trying to play around with your strategy. As here comes the leader, John Cannizzaro, heading down pit road.
All right, I hope he speeds and blows this, Bob. I had to say it. I'm sorry.
Well, let's see. It looked like he was able to get on pit road well enough. Might have locked it up heading down pit road.
I wish I knew. I would have snuck down there and gave his pit crew like $20 a piece to go have lunch, just so he. No, he missed it.
Oh, he drove through the box. There it is. One little mistake, and that could cause some issues. Jonathan Gaston heading down pit road as well. Let's see if John, he's able to get it rolling. 16.3 second pit stop, so a little bit slower. Not going to be great for him. Now let's see if Mr. Gaston is able to get into his box. Yes, he does. And they'll go around and make a change. Meanwhile, out front, this guy started towards the back, started P15, worked his way up methodically last pitted on lap 49. So Garrett, maybe he's going to be trying the one-stop scenario. But as we say that, here comes Tim Johnston to say, nope, I'm going to the lead now.
Yeah, Tim's made short work of Shane. I also just talked about with Mike. Maybe Shane decided that not my best track, not my best conditions for me to win this race. I'm going to go for the best finish possible and try to sneak out of the top 5. We'll see. I mean, we haven't, knock on wood, Bob. If one shows up here with 10 to go, I think these guys are going to want tires, and it could be anybody's ball game.
Absolutely, especially like you said, Garrett, 3 sets of tires in the pits. They've all got an extra set here to make things just a little interesting as this race goes on. And 24 laps. That's the difference between Tim Johnston and Shane Ewing. And look at the lap time difference. Almost 2 seconds this time by in lap difference between Johnston and Ewing. So I think that's kind of the goal, to say, you know what, fresh tires are incredibly important, as Nick Cohan heads down pit road yet again. Man, 21 cannot catch a break tonight.
Yeah, I think Nick might have had a speeding penalty on that first pit stop and set him back with, like, I think it's like a 40-second penalty or something crazy. I don't really understand why it's so long. At that point, it really punishes you. You're going to lose at least a lap, and it just takes a very good driver with a very fast car out of contention.
That is for sure our pole sitter, even for tonight. So definitely a tough break there for Cohan, but his Dizzy Motorsports teammate Tim Johnston leading the field, gets around the 4 car of Adam Stewart there. And Garrett, I do have to say, Adam Stewart, he is one of those drivers that is putting in work, always trying to get better, always trying to learn the car, learn the track. And, you know, he was having some issues last season getting on pit road. Whole new car for him as well. I think, you know, he's going to be one of those drivers to watch out for as the season gets on, just to see how he progresses and where he goes from here.
Couldn't have said it better myself, Bob. Adam's been tremendous to come to TNR, start to learn, get better. I mean, pretty much has to buy each track. It's the first time Adam gets to go to these places and learns and does his best, asks questions to people who have been there, done that, and when, you know, getting lapped or whoever, stays out of the way. And you cannot say enough nice things about drivers who are learning. We've all been there. Don't be shy. Come here. We're a very welcoming league. We will help you out the best we can. And like you said, by the end of the season, I'm expecting that 4 to start running closer and closer and closer to the front.
Yeah, completely agreed. I mean, Adam's been asking for advice between me asking in the Discord chat, which is in the description in the video down below, if you want to join and race with us each Monday here on Tabletop Trio Network. And, you know, Adam's been asking, he's like, hey, what are your thoughts about Atlanta? How do I get around? How can I coach? You know, can you coach me? Can you help me get better? And one of my biggest pieces of advice for this track, go slower than you think you are, because you're going to kill your tires as the run goes on.
And hope the big dummy that sets up the server doesn't make it 135 track temperature. That would be a big help.
Yeah, track temp can definitely be a problem as the race goes on. But here we are, 12 laps left. Philip Scott here trying to track down Tim Johnston. Scott only has 3 lap fresher tires. So I don't know if Scott's going to be able to catch him. Maybe he's going to have to get a good luck yellow or something. But here comes Philip Scott, right around the 4 of Stewart.
Philip Scott wants to have his Carl Edwards moment. Bob, you know, if there was a chance that he could make his way to the outside of the 82 and battle for the win off of turn 4, he would just light up like the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree. But I don't think Philip, like you said, 3 laps, just difference on the tires, not going to have enough time, not going to have enough tire to get there, barring a yellow, barring a change in the direction of this green flag from start to finish race.
Yeah, and honestly, that in and of itself has been crazy. The fact that we are almost 90 laps into this run, green flag straight through, 2 green flag pit stops at a track that is unbelievably difficult to navigate. I mean, that just shows so much of this talent here at TNR.
Bob, I've lost my fair share of bets over the years. I'm a Giants fan, and I certainly would have lost the bet today on how many yellows we would have had.
Well, especially after we had that string of incidents that weren't really incidents between Mitchell and Jamar just kind of grabbing the wall, spinning out, sliding through the infield, doing Johnny Williams impressions, different things like that. I'm amazed we're at 9 laps to go, and we've been clean and green the whole way.
Yeah, but I know we could say this for the next 9 laps. Like, I cannot believe it. These guys have gotten control over their cars, and I'm sure it's not easy. I'm guessing there's still a bunch of guys correcting off the corner, pointing the car towards the outside wall, and they've just figured it out. And for those that don't race as much, or get to race and just watch our broadcast, racing is about rhythm. You figure it out, and then as your tires wear, you kind of got to keep adjusting and figuring out even more as we ride along here. And you can see on that wheel. Now you're gonna maybe snap a little bit. We'll turn to the right there on exit, Bob. Right?
Gosh, that is so sketchy when you're in the car, turning right to drive into the wall, and you're just hoping, okay, I'm hoping I'm saving the slide. I'm not about to wall myself from the lead with 8 laps to go.
I was having an issue coming off of 4 into the tri-oval. It made it look pretty easy there in our ride along, but I was pretty much getting loose and wanting to spin down pit road every single time during practice.
Yeah, let's take a look here as he comes out of 4. Look at that orange line drifted off to the right. That just goes to show how much wheel he's got into it coming out of turn 2. And look at how yawed out the 97 Mike Tellier is there too.
Yeah, I was following a couple guys in practice, and I could not believe how out of control their car looked. And I was thinking, I'm also out of control. You just can't really feel it as much when you're in the car. So just tremendous job, everyone. I wish I could take you all for ice cream or something after the race just to reward you, because you've been awesome. You put on an awesome show for our Tabletop Trio audience.
Yeah, what a great series. By the way, cameras for tonight have been provided by our friends at Track Cams for Gourmets. You can check them out in the link down below in the description. Some fantastic camera angles that we've been getting of tonight's race and all season long. Track Cams for Gourmets. Link is down below in the description.
All right, Bob, call it. We're going to have a yellow here. Or are we going to go green to the end? 5 laps.
I really genuinely feel like we are going to go green. 5 laps left. We're going to keep this one clean and green. Will Ratcliffe heads down pit road right now. Everyone, for the most part, pretty spaced out as well. Not a whole lot of tight battles going on. Closest one might be this one here between the 32 of Shane Ewing and the 02 of Daniels. And oh, as I say that, Daniels gets loose, slides up the track, able to keep it going in the right direction.
Yeah, wow. We have seen some saves and just drivers keeping it straight tonight. And again, just amazed at the car control, amazed at the talent, and just nobody wrecking someone else's race.
And that is just fantastic. I mean, we've been saying it all day long, but let's take a look. Look at that track temperature. The bottommost symbol there with the road, 123 degree track temp. So it's actually cooled off quite a bit. 87 degree air temperature, 33% humidity as well. So these are some very difficult conditions, and everyone doing a darn good job just to keep themselves going in the right way.
I'm going to work on what I do best next week, Bob. Well, obviously Bristol has lights, but I'm very good at making sure we race in the dark at tracks with no lights and putting hurricane winds on. I'm going to stick to that and maybe leave the track temperature down just a hair from now on.
I still think hurricane temps in the dark at Phoenix, that should be a lot of fun.
All right, you can count on that. We'll make it happen.
Well, we've got a lap and a half remaining here for this driver, the 82 of Tim Johnston. He has been having himself one heck of a race.
Yeah, quiet and almost uneventful, minus the 3 wide pass on fresh tires to get back on the lead lap. So we come into the white flag, 1 to go. Tim Johnston, 82, bring her home.
Just a great race here being ran by the 82 at Johnston. Only really gave up the lead when it came to pitting. Didn't really have a whole lot else to say. Just a great run for him all race long. One more corner to go. No threat of yellows after the leader took the white flag. Here comes Tim Johnson coming out of turn number 4. Tim Johnston is going to win here at Atlanta.
Well, congrats, Tim. Great race, everyone. Philip Scott in the 99 bringing that car home in second place, sideways across the finish line. The wild child, John Canizaro, finishing off our podium in third place.
Yeah, there's Chris Cabot crossing the line in P4. Have to wait a little while. There's the 32 Shane Ewing. What a great run for Shane. Up 10 spots from where he started. He'll finish P5. But man, that was a ton of fun.
Yeah, you don't get to see many green flag start to finish races in iRacing, and we seem to have a good knack for it here at Total Nonstop Racing, and appreciate everyone who's here driving, doing the broadcast, tuning in. We couldn't do it without every single one of you. So I hope you enjoyed the show as much as I enjoyed being able to commentate on it.
Yeah, this has been a ton of fun. And well, gee, let's start grabbing some of our drivers here to bring into the interview waiting room and see what some of our top 3 guys have to say between our winner Tim Johnson, Philip Scott in P2, and the wild child himself, John Canizaro, there in P3. Try to get some of these guys up into our interview room. I am not seeing Canizaro in the Discord.
No big loss, Bob. He probably wouldn't have anything good to say. Oh, there he is. Oh, son of a gun. He showed up in the interview waiting.
All right. Well, let's drag the wild child in. And, G, I feel like you're the one to catch up with our third place finisher, driver of the 77, John Canizaro.
Well, John, it was nice to have you out here for the first time this season, being able to race here at Total Nonstop Racing. I gave you a nice, hot, slick track that suited your driving style, and you still choked and finished third. What happened out there, bud?
I'm assuming it was on broadcast, but I decided I wanted to overshoot my pit box the last time around. For a long time in racing, I didn't use the clutch. I had iRacing do the anti-stall for me, but I decided since I need to grow a pair of nuts, I'll do it myself. And in the midst of trying to find first gear, I ended up just missing a little bit. But other than that, I think a little bit of stupid strategy. I mean, I really didn't know how to run Atlanta in the slick. I think every time I've raced here, I've just ended up wrecking or falling in the back. So it's due to be up front to me.
Well, John, I have big news for you if you decide to watch the broadcast back. I didn't say anything negative about you until that moment when you went down pit road. I said to Bob, I hope he screws up and chokes right here. And he overslid it just a hair. So I'm sorry if I jinxed you, but I just couldn't go the whole broadcast being nice to you.
Fine, I had it reversed before I was even stopped.
Well, John, what does the season going forward have in store? Are you going to be here next week at Bristol, or a couple more races this season, or you one and done?
The idea was I was supposed to run the full season, and then Internet decided I didn't get to run Daytona doubleheader, and then last week at Richmond, I ended up getting called into a meeting for work. So if I don't see myself going to the top of the points once we get closer to the end of the year, then I'll probably start kind of throwing it out the window and just start trying to win races and say heck with everybody else around me. But as of now, I'm just going to try to race it the best I can and see if I can start getting points together. It's just different than I usually do.
So I have one more question, and then I'll let you say hi to everybody. But just, you don't have to say the company's name, but you got this job through a friend or family member, right? Because there's no company in the world that would actually hire you on merit.
My sister works for state DOT. She got me a job at the fair, and we had a mandatory meeting. So yes, it was.
Bob, I called that. Bob.
You can laugh all you want.
All right, John, before we let you go, maybe thank your sister for getting you a job, and whoever else you want to give a shout out to.
My father, he's sitting behind me. He'll come back to racing eventually. I know we missed him on here as much as he likes to try to wreck me, especially at Watkins Glen. My friend Tyler, he was crew chief for me since I'm not very good at strategy calls. He did a good job today. I just kind of poorly executed it on pit road, and he also did my paint scheme for me. I'll probably have another special paint scheme here eventually. He does all my cars you've ever seen, so big shout out to him. And you guys put on the broadcast, and Garrett for letting me back in TNR again.
Well, John, you were banned. We just didn't see you for a while, but congratulations on the third place finish, and I guess we'll see you next week if you don't have a meeting.
Yeah, don't deny you would have locked me out if you could have.
I certainly would have. So that's John Cannizzaro, third place finisher in the number 77, and I believe Bob is catching up with our favorite Ninja Warrior, Philip Scott.
Yeah, I'm going to be pulling up Philip here into the broadcast booth. What a great run for driver the number 99, Philip Scott. Philip, first of all, congrats there on the P2 finish. Take us through this race. 100 green flag laps at a hot, slick Atlanta. That looked tough from up here.
Yeah, this is my favorite kind of race, man. I always talk about how one of the best races we ever had in TNR was in our next gen season when Garrett accidentally made the Las Vegas 140 degrees track temp, and this was pretty similar to that. First run was it was lots of fun. Garrett, it was funny because Garrett messaged me before, is it supposed to be this hot? And I was just like, everybody else should just get good. It's fine. It's fine. I just was the main thing I was afraid about this race was the first start because, you got to go 40% throttle, maximum, or else you just will wheel spin. So that was done. And I was afraid we were going to get some more cautions. There were definitely times when people would like hit the wall and stuff, understandably so, because it's just so slick and everything. But it never happened. This was super. I'm really another reason why TNR is so awesome, because it's just like no other league could you have 100 green flag laps of old Atlanta at 136 track temp, and yeah, everybody got it done, and even everybody's pace was still really good. Like at the end of it, that whole green run, there was the whole top 10 was on the lead lap, which is super impressive because like that's like how old Atlanta, like after 100 laps, that's how old Atlanta was in real life. So like that's pretty good. And yeah, I was just wheeling it. And I was just trying to pace myself. It's so hard to the longer the runs are. I knew that Tim had it because he pit first and he was able to hook the bottom better later on. So I'm like, oh, he's got the tire thing figured out. So it kind of just became me trying to hunt down John, and then I undercut, and it just worked out at the end.
Yeah, I want to talk to you about that pit strategy. Looks like you would undercut John, like you'd mentioned, by about 4 laps. Tim had gotten you by about 3 laps there, and you were closing ever so slightly there on Tim. But those 3-4 lap tire difference, did you notice any of a difference in just such a small sample size?
Yeah, it was like I definitely noticed it way more when I ran to like lap 43 on the first run, like because I had like a 10 lap advantage on the first stint. So I noticed it way more on that one. I think my spotter was saying like I was here and there like closing in like 2-3 tenths a lap on Tim. But then I knew that John's just gonna John was farther back than that to me. But I knew he was just gonna let it loose and just hold it full throttle for the rest of the race. So I knew that I just had to pace myself and hope that I had enough tire left at the end to hopefully his tires would start to go away, and then eventually his pace advantage would turn to like only like a tenth or two at the end. So yeah, it ended up working out good because I saw him starting to struggle at the end of the second stint. And I was thinking to myself, if he's going to pit soon, then I made a really late decision to pit, but I nailed it. Thankfully, I had my brake bias up this race, so I didn't loop it like I usually do into pit road on a slick track. So yeah.
Yeah, and taking a look next week Bristol, completely different style of racing. What are your thoughts heading in there?
I think it's going to be a lot of long runs again. It's with these cars and everything with you can't really fly around in Bristol like you can say like with the trucks have more downforce, like 400 less horsepower, so they're just like you just are able to really just log laps and I mean kind of manage your tires and everything, but with this Gen 4, oh yeah, it's going to be like big long runs. Like people are gonna I think I mean it depends on the conditions. I hope it's hot and slick, obviously, but whatever it is, people are gonna have to really pace themselves long run. Because there will be times when like you'll almost go like there'll be people that go like almost a lap down, just saving their tires and then eventually bring the gap up, or they'll like lap themselves and stuff. Like just the green flag runs are going to be very interesting to see because I don't think that'll be too much of a crazy show like too many cautions or anything like that because Richmond's anything to go by. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, Philip, before we let you go, I'm sure you have some shout outs, so let's hear them.
Yeah. So obviously, as you can tell, my thing, I don't work for my old sponsor anymore. So I have my freelance business. If you want any graphic design work, not necessarily cars or anything like that, paints. That's better suited for the a lot of the really good painters I know, like Chris Darling and Matt Muir and all of them. But anything like social graphics, branding, all that, that's my specialty. So that's what I got in my car. And yeah, shout out to the fact that I was able to meet Kyle Larson and SVG this weekend. So, maybe that helped me.
I think that definitely helped. Well, Phil, congratulations there. P2 finish, and looking forward to seeing you out there next week at Bristol.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. And Garrett is now in victory lane, going to be joining the winner of tonight's race, Tim Johnston.
You know, I always appreciate when Philip finishes second. It gives me enough time to get my fat butt down to victory lane and interview Tim Johnston. Tim, what a win. You were the one that was able to figure this track out, figure out the strategy, and do it the right way. So just give us a little bit of insight. Did you always think you had the fuel mileage and tire strategy down, or was it just going as the track went along there?
No, I kind of come up with the strategy in practice. I worked on a couple of qualifying runs, but I was doing just some different stuff to figure out what a good lap time was to run to make the tires last as long as I needed them to last, to where it wasn't wrecking in the front stretch and the back stretch when I was at full throttle. So I kind of figured that out in practice and took a good shot at what I wanted to do strategy wise right before the race started.
So we had our camera on you most of the race. Seemed like you were definitely the class of the field. I mean, there's a couple other guys with speed. As the race went on, who did you think was the biggest threat to you as far as winning this thing?
I think Philip and John, the 99 and the 77, I wasn't sure how the strategy was exactly going to work out towards the end because I knew they were pitting after me. So then we had Shane that did a one-stop strategy. So there were a few different strategies. Wasn't exactly sure how it was going to work itself out till there was probably maybe 10 to 15 laps to go.
So you're no stranger to winning races, having success here on iRacing. We're heading to Bristol next week. Just for those who may not be as familiar with Bristol, what's the secret to getting around that place, and what's your track record like there?
My track record of Bristol is generally hit or miss. Sometimes I finish well, sometimes I crash. Really, in these cars, I think it'll be a lot of fun. You'll see, definitely have another, egg under the throttle type race with wheel spin up off the corners. So it'll be interesting, and I think with this field, it'll be a really competitive race.
You know what, Tim? I'm gonna do something I've never done before here for our Tabletop Trio audience. You've won the race this week. I will let you choose. Do you want to race at Bristol in the daytime or the nighttime next week?
Oh wow, that's a tough one. Well, night is going to have cooler temperatures, and then the day will be warmer. That's a tough one. Honestly, I think I would choose day.
Okay, you heard it here first, Bob. Tabletop Trio audience, you got it first. It will be a day race next week at Bristol. But before we let you go, Tim, obviously congratulations on your win. The floor is yours if you'd like to give any shout-outs to family, friends, sponsors, and whatever you need to do.
I just want to thank everybody at TNR, the league that puts us on every week. You guys that do a phenomenal broadcast, the fans that tune in and watch, all my teammates at Dizzy Motorsports. It's been a blast being a part of their team for the years that I've been there. So, yeah, like I said, this is just a lot of fun, and it's been a blast the first few races here.
Well, we certainly appreciate having you, having your teammates here. You've put on a tremendous show tonight, and congratulations on the win. Go get some rest. You definitely deserve it after holding on to that wheel as long as you did tonight.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Well, there you have it, Bob. That's our race winner, Tim Johnston, number 82 for Dizzy Motorsports. And wow, green flag from start to finish, bud.
Yeah, absolutely wild. 100 laps here on a hot, slick track. That is, man, that is just something else. What a lot of fun. And, hopefully the trend will continue next week at Bristol.
Well, I certainly hope so, Bob. And if we could do 200 laps caution-free at Bristol, I might just start turning the cautions off. We don't need them anymore.
Right? Yeah, we'll just sit on the flag, throw it away, and it'll be all good. Let's take a look here at the final results here for tonight's TNR race at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Tim Johnson, who we just heard, was the winner. Philip Scott, P2. John Canizaro, P3. Chris Gabot, Shane Ewing round out the top 5. In 6th, ZO2 of John Daniels. Jason Gracias in 7th. Luna Albright in 8th, Jeff Price in 9th, and Danny White rounds out the top 10 and the last car on the lead lap.
Floppy comes home in 11th, 1 lap down on a differing strategy. Jason Schue in 12th, Mr. Gaston 13th. I cannot see that name, Bob. I see Bettis in 14th, Adam Stewart in 15th, Robert Tripp 16th, Nick Cohan, some rough luck there, coming home in 17th. Will Ratcliffe in 18th. Here we go. Jamar Dumas, horrible luck last speed. That number 28 machine comes home in 19th. Tom Bourne, a very uncharacteristic 20th place finish. We saw Mitchell Adams have some issues, coming home in 21st. Brandon Buchwald in 22nd. Lupe Gonzalez in his return did not have a great race in 23rd, rounding out our 23 car field with Garrick Leeson getting on the graphic solely because you do that to make me happy, Beth.
I put it here just to see your name up on the TV screen. But Garrett, this has been a ton of fun. Looking forward next week at Bristol. What are your thoughts? Day race at Bristol, and like Tim said, hot, slick. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, I might have to put some laps in and practice so I don't embarrass myself. And if I'm starting to look really bad in practice, I expect you to just pull me back up in the booth. We could do a 3-man booth if we have to. Just anything to keep the races green and me from embarrassing myself, Bob.
Hey, that always sounds like fun. Well, for one final time, Garrett, thank you so much for joining me. And thank you, the viewer, as well, for joining us here on the Tabletop Trio Racing Network. You could join us right here on both Twitch and YouTube live tomorrow night for the Speed Xfinity Series. That one is going to be at 9 o'clock Eastern right here on Twitch and YouTube. Wednesday nights as well for the Tabletop Trio podcast. We're taking that one a week off this week to recover from the Philadelphia Hot Sauce Festival this past weekend. But for all the info, schedule, videos, and more, you can check us out online, tabletoptrio.com. So for one final time, for Garrett, I'm Bob. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great night. We'll talk to you tomorrow.